Years ago, I was helping this old guy. Um, he had a trailer hitch seized inside the the trailer ball that slides into the receiver was seized inside the receiver. Couldn't get it out. We ended up cutting it off and then taking like the square tubing and torching the inside of the tubing, pulling it out in pieces, and finally cut it out. And the guy reaches, so he cut the piece in half with the torch. He sets the torch down, takes a gloved hand, reaches into the receiver, and pulls molten piece of steel out with his fingers and flicks it on the ground. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "You? That's not burning through those gloves?" He goes, "No, they're fireproof gloves." And didn't think anything of it. I have a lot of experience in fireproof gloves because I worked at a glass blowing studio, and the glass was typically like when it came out of the kiln, it was right around 1100 degrees or 1050 degrees, and we would use these big, thick Zatex fireproof gloves, like welder's gloves, come all the way up to your elbow, and they had. They say they were rated for 1100 degrees, but they weren't. If you had the glass in your hand, it would, after about 5 seconds, start to get hot, and then you'd have to set it down. So we would take multiple gloves and fold them over like this, and then that's how you would have to hold something because they were not rated for that. We even got the aluminized Zatex gloves, which were rated higher. They had like an aluminum coating, but you couldn't touch bare glass with them because the aluminum coating would come off and stick to the glass. So I was very familiar with fireproof gloves. And I said, "What are these amazing gloves that you have?" And he says, they are from the military. They were used for changing barrels of machine guns. So if you had a machine gun that you were, shooting through, eventually the barrel would get so hot it would start to cook off the rounds. So a round would go into the chamber and explode automatically without the primer going off. So they'd have to change the barrels out, and they'd be literally glowing. And the military supplied these gloves to do it, and they are literally the most fireproof gloves I've ever seen in my life. Now, the catch is they are 100% asbestos. So they're super fireproof because they are made out of woven asbestos. There's no liner in them, there's no nothing. It's just that thick of asbestos, and they're completely fireproof. The guy gave me a pair of them. He got them like military surplus or whatever, and I've used them for a million different things. I used them at the glass blowing studio because they didn't mark up, they wouldn't leave marks on the glass. That was before I realized how dangerous asbestos really is. You shouldn't even be touching it because you see all these little fibers that come off. They all cause cancer and whatnot. But I found them in a box of my stuff, and I'm gonna probably just put them right back. They're cool, and maybe one day I'll find a use for them. But for now, they're just cancer gloves. Just they do work really well, but you really can't do anything with them because you can't use them on any like job site, or I guess you could use them at home for grabbing stuff out of the fire or whatnot. But yeah, asbestos cancer gloves. Asbestos was great shit back in the day until all that mesothelioma. But yeah, I get a kick out of them.